Yeah, he was a guy that. Here's the truth about it. I walked by the linebackers, one day when they were doing some drills, and I looked over and they were doing just a pass rush drill, like rushing the back, and I saw him flip his hips, and I was like, there's here's the guy that, and it's always a thing. Like everywhere you ever are, you want to collect rushers, and he's a guy that showed some flash and did some stuff, and we were, hey, let's bring him down for a day or two just to see what he can do, and he's really done a good job. He's flashed, you know what I mean? He's still kind of transitioning a little bit of that, because he did spend, he spent his whole time with Noah and Chase and those guys in the linebacker room, learning that stuff. So he's a little bit in a different learning mode than the rest of the defensive ends. But he's playing that edge, man. He's got a good burst and a good bend, and we'll see if he's got a chance to rush a little bit. We're excited about it.
You're talking about transfer linebackers. How about Ben Summer?
Oh, Ben, he's been good. He's at every spot on defense has its own hardships, and playing Mike linebacker, he got to control the whole thing, and he's a guy he's like, maybe personality-wise a lot opposite of Q. Q will run around and he's always talking. Ben is very cerebral, you know what I mean, and it's been a good quality for him, because we've been really pleasantly pleased with him, because he can walk up and he can look at things and process and know where to put the defense and control the stuff and get the communication that needs to be done, and that's the kind of guy you really want there, and he's done a really good job picking those things up, because he's a football guy, you know what I mean? You'll see him in there during our break. He's watching tape, he's studying his playbook, he's getting those things down, so he's very very cerebral about those things, so he's not wrong, and his work ethic shows through that stuff, where he can say, hey, I can do this, and then has the ability just to go run and go make a play too. So I mean, that's always a big part of it too, but he does have that ability, and we're excited about how hard he's working.
Scottie, with somebody like DeShawn Mallory, who made the body change,
sure,
now it's all cutting and everything, talk about how that's translated, and then how that has made him better, and where do you see him at?
Yeah, those guys in the weight room did a good job with a lot of them cats, you know what I mean? He's a guy that, he last year was a lot bigger. His explosion factor was less when he was that big, and you like to have an ability to, when it does turn to pass, you want your defensive tackles to at least get some push or be disruptive in there, and sometimes even the run game, they're getting off the ball, and they know what zone he might go in, he might go, you get offensive linemen playing slower, and with his transformation, it does show up especially early in practice and stuff like that. I mean, we need to keep, working later and later and later into practice and working those things, but early, just his ability to get off the ball, to be able to throw a move, to be able to set a different level, on the offense and pass rush, that's really helped him, like everybody, he's still got things he needs to work on, but and I think that it's kind of changed the way he thinks of himself too, which is the cool thing, those guys go in there, they get some muscles, they can take their shirt off now in public, they're all happy, it's one of those things where, hey, I'm feeling good, and when you start to feel and your world gets right, a lot of times it takes a lot of stress off you on the field, where you can focus on what you need to focus on.
With Slade being dinged up a little bit, with Jacob Slade being dinged up a little bit, some of those younger guys are getting reps.
Sure.
I saw Hansen out there the other day.
Yep.
Farrell, I guess. First of all, how important is that to get those younger guys reps with Naquan on, especially now, to get
sure.
to build that depth? And how much do you think, how deep do you think you can go there?
Yeah, what we're trying to figure out, and that's what Scrimmage 2 will be about. Simeon's had some really good flashes. He's been a guy that showed up, and even with his snap and his body and his hands, and he's done some good things there. He still has got some things to work on, where he doesn't always play with power. You know what I mean? But like everybody, hey, we're working on these things. We identify these things and get him a chance to go. But Mavs, he's a powerful dude. You know what I mean? He's a powerful dude. So and that's part of what. Like you talk about Scrimmage 2, is you say, okay, what can each guy do? What's his role going to be? Hey, this guy we might want to play against the run more. He's this kind of guy. He's bigger, more physical, those kind of things. Hey, and this guy we might want to put in pass rush situation or second and long or however. And you start to get those ideas for subs, and Coach Burton will be working like crazy, get different personnel on the field every snap. If we can, with the speed of the game sometimes. But those things are things that it's great for those guys to get those reps. Because like we started off with, right? It's one of those things. The reps don't go away. You know what I mean? If someone gets he can't take, that's fine. It's going to make someone else better and maybe make the quality of our room better. And how deep we can, I don't know. That's to be seen. That'll be seen, the second scrimmage to say, okay, are we going to play 60 tackles? Are we going to play 5? You know what I mean? Are we going to play 7? I mean, that'll be seen. You hope you get to a point where it's hard to tell. You don't. Well, hey, all these 7, 8 guys can. Okay, well, let's see what we're going to put them in what slots.
What do you like about the transformation pictures that you've seen? Because the guys have been posting them all throughout social media pages, showing everybody the progress that they have made. So what did you maybe enjoy about seeing those pictures?
I just think it's really just fun to see guys appreciate the work that's going on. You know what I mean? Like they have I think that when they look at that, because a lot of times you see yourself every day, right? And you see your teammates every day, so you don't notice those transformations. But when they look at them and whatever, they're putting them out on social media or whatever. But hey, if I look at myself, 20 years ago and I look at myself now, I go, God, I look ugly, right? I mean, and you appreciate the change that you made. Well, they see themselves and see how much they've grown and how much better they look. Well, then they start to appreciate the staff and the weight room. They start to be able to say, hey, listen, this is working. It is going the right way. This time that I'm straying in here is getting better. Or maybe they look almost the same. Well, I need to work harder because I see all these other guys and they can compare and say, okay, I need to strain more. And so I think just that's a little reward for them. You know what I mean, to see how much they've grown and what they've done and how hard work's paying off.
In what areas can you build on what you did last year defensively? In what areas do you expect improvement? How's that?
Oh, geez, there's a bunch on last year. You know what I mean? The first thing is, I think it always starts with stopping the run. You know what I mean? We got to do a good job setting an edge all the time on the defense so the ball doesn't get outside so everybody else can play. We got to keep the line flat. Yeah, maybe yards, whatever. We just got to keep the ball contained in there, right? Because that sets up everything else, right? If you get a chance where you can stop the run and it always starts there, well, now you got a chance to make, now we earn the right to pass rush. And a lot of times that's where your takeaways come from, right? You get a team that's off schedule and now it's second long, they're going to throw. Well, you can call a defense that's better than that because you're kind of whittling down what they can do. And then third down, you can really tee off. And those are the things, because let's be real, most takeaways come from the quarterback and quarterback disruptions. And to put yourself in a position where we're either ahead in the ball game where we can rush all the time, or we as a defense do our job and get off schedule, get a team off schedule, where we can get ourselves in position to rush. That's where a lot of those things come from. Whether, hey, we hit him, he felt pressure, threw off his back foot, those are all the interceptions come from. We get a chance to get more of those, right? And that's really what turns it. We got to flip the field for the offense. You know what I mean? We got to, hey, they started on a 25. Now we knocked them down for 0. Now it's 2nd and 10 on 25. Well, we got a chance to do something and run. Okay, now it's 3rd and 8. On 20. Okay, we get out to. Well, now we just created a field position for our team, and that's really our job because it's just about getting the ball back to the offense. And if you get in those situations, you get long. Maybe you get a sack bump, right? Maybe you get a chance to hit the quarterback. Maybe you get a chance to call some plays. We can mix up some pressure things that confuses them, or he just throws the ball off his back and we get a pick in the back end. Those are all the things that we really need to improve on. We need to do a better job putting ourselves in those situations.
Do you feel good about your ability to stop the run and win the edge?
Yeah, I think we're getting better. I mean, that's been the focus the whole fall and all last spring. And we're hoping we're steadily improving every day. It'll be seen. There's times we do a great job against our offenses, and there's times we don't. And it's a tribute to them. Working some different things and some schemes, but it's challenging us, and that's what we need to see.
How was Penisham coming along, Jacob Penisham?
Good. He got his weight back after all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? His body's starting to get right. So I'm excited to see what he does this year.
One of the guys you guys brought in, we haven't really heard much about him. First of all, can you say his last name for us so we know it? And what have you seen from him and maybe some of the freshmen you guys had to recruit?
Yeah, I can't really say his last name. I'm not gonna lie. Coach Els knows it pretty dang good. But Ma is a good natural instinctive linebacker. He was a guy that when he first stepped on the field, like the very first day, the gravity of being out there with a whole bunch of guys who are better than he's played with or against, in his whole life, it didn't hit him. He just lined up, and he might have been lined up wrong, but he sees where the ball goes, and then he goes and gets the ball. Yeah, and there's those guys who might think and feel it. He doesn't do that, which is beautiful to see in a young man. You know what I mean? He has ability. He can read plays. He can key and diagnose really fast when he gets there. So we're excited. I mean, we'll see where he fits. I mean, we're excited about that dude too. I mean, that's the cool thing about having. You know, we don't get preseason games, but we get scrimmages, and that's the cool thing about having those scrimmages is you get a chance to evaluate these guys over and over. You know, and at least say, hey, let's see where they fit in. You know, but he is a good, natural, instinctive linebacker that. Hey, you know, we'll see where he fits into the mix.
What about some of those other freshmen like Brantley?
Brantley's done a great
it's got to
job.
be weird to not have seen these guys really in person until
Sure.
they get here.
Sure. You know, like if you start in the back end, I guess if we're going to talk about the young guys a little bit, Chuck's done a phenomenal job. He's a guy that trusts his technique, who takes coaching, who can run. You know what I mean? I know that he's, you know, super light right now. But that dude will strike you. He's got contact courage, you know. Booth came in a little bit after Chuck did, but has flashed in the field. He's starting to get things down. You know what I mean? Right away, he was like kind of feeling his way a little bit, but he's taking coaching and he's starting to get better in technique. And we're trying to figure out what slot is he in? Is he going to play here? You know, he's smart like that. He can do some things. You know, I'm trying to think all the freshmen that we got. You know, like a guy like Derek Harmon has showed up as a really stout man inside. You know, he's a dude that he does use his hands and he has power. You know what I mean? He can hold. I mean, we got some pretty good offensive linemen out there. You know what I mean? And like you said, with guys getting nicked up or whatever, or maybe you just want to give a break or try a guy out. You know, when a guy flashes against, hey, when it's 3s on 3s, he's flash. Okay, put him against the ones for a couple snaps. Let's see how. And he hasn't shied down to any of those things. You know, he's been pretty good. You know, the two linebackers, we're excited about both of them. I think they're very instinctual guys. I think Ma's probably a little bit ahead in that race just because he is a bursting, natural, key and diagnose, just ball player. You know, I think he still needs to clean up what to do, you know, in his defense and some of the moving parts and stuff, and you just got to reduce the package. And that's what we do. You know, let's be real. On the scrimmage days, man, hey, go out there and play. Let's see you play. You don't want to scheme anybody to death. You know, just line up against the offense and go make a tackle. You know, shed a block, see what it is, go make a tackle. And he's done a good job at that. And then you know, when he gets in the game, you got to figure out with all those young guys, if they, you know, when they get in, you just got to be able to say, okay, now let's scale it back and what can we really do, right? I mean, you don't want to be calling, you know, year 2 defenses with a year 1 guy unless he's a special, you know, really cerebral guy.
With all the turnover at corner, what's it like when I think going into the spring with Gross moving to safety, I think Gervin was the only scholarship cornerback you had on the roster, and now you got the freshmen, you got the transfers. What's it like trying to make that fit at that position?
It's great. You know, I mean, it's great because not only did that put stress on those guys to learn and compete, and like we talked about, you know what I mean? Hey, they do something, you know, okay, go. So, you know what I mean? And it makes them want to be on the field and grind and compete against each other. But it also transferred some of the power and empowered our safeties to speak up more. Where now we got to be able to look at each other and say, hey, this is what we're doing. You good? Yeah, we're both. So we're all on the same page. And it forced those guys, it forced them to really communicate. And that's what we want, player-led team, where they're on the field being the general, running the show. Well, it made those safeties, you know, Michael Dow's of the world, the X's of the world, you know what I mean? The Jellos of the world, those guys be able to say, hey, you know what you got? Yes, you know what you, okay, are we, okay, oh, it moved, hey, did this change? You know what I mean? And it forced those guys to speak, which helps us as a defense because the more we communicate, the better we are.
Last question for Coach Hazelton.
Curious, could you sort of give us an overview of the nickel position? Who are the names? And then
Sure.
is that a thing that you can sort of go deeper with and do more things with?
Sure. Yeah, right now, Michael Dow, still playing nickel. Behind him is Snow, and then Terrell. And we've also been working like Chaz in there some. We've been working Gerv in there some. You know what I mean? It's kind of a you know, nickel by committee right now. You know, Michael Dow's the guy that's been shining bright, just like he's a good football player and he can do a lot of things. And so let's try to get as many of the, you know, the best guys we got out there, but we're still creating competition with him with some of the other guys, you know what I mean? And it's still a deal. you know, they all meet together, so they all know what to do in each one, and it might be a situational deal. You know, you might see a different guy in there depending on what we're doing or not. You know, and you like to have that ability where if a team's going fast, well, you have your whole defensive calls. But if a team's going slow enough where we can sub, you put in whoever you want personnel-wise to do the same things. You know, and that's really what we're looking forward to.
All right, thanks.